In the early 19th century, there lived a girl named Rain. She was an independent person who didn't care what others thought, choosing instead to stay true to her own beliefs. One of those beliefs was her desire to be a poet, even though poems by female writers were often ignored back then. Girls are not supposed to write. Let the words play in your heart, but don't let them out, her mother would always tell her in a sweet voice. Rain, however, was drawn to unique and beautiful things that captured her gaze. She would often tell her friend Cecil,
"If a person or thing you call beautiful doesn't make you blind to the rest of the world, it is not beautiful enough."
Cecil was the complete opposite. He was a people pleaser who valued the opinions of the majority over his own convictions. Rain and Cecil met in 1809 when she first moved to town, and they soon became inseparable friends. While the townsfolk expected them to marry, there was another girl no one knew about. A girl named Aline. Aline was a beautiful woman, but not many people knew about her because she lived quite far from the town. Since she lived in such a remote area, very few townsfolk ever traveled that way. Rain and Cecil only discovered her home while they were searching for a secret place to hide from the prying eyes of the village. That hidden spot is where they first met Aline, who was as bright as her name, despite being a very shy girl. They all became close friends, once again thanks to the persistent efforts of Cecil. At the time of their first meeting, Aline was 16 years old, while Rain and Cecil were both 15. The three of them remained inseparable friends for a very long time. However, their dynamic changed forever on November 11th, 1821, the day Cecil got married. While the girl was cleaning her grandfather's room, she discovered an old box. Upon opening it, she found several old, slightly charred letters tucked inside. She smiled as she read them and asked, "Is this yours?" He smiled with tears in his eyes and replied, "No, they belong to your grandmother." The girl didn't quite understand, but she remained silent as he continued. Finally, he said, "There is a reason why your name is Aline."
I have a story that can't be told. A story that is engraved in me. A story so sad that I can't stop my tears as I think about it, yet so beautiful that I can give up all that is to relive it. Falling in love with you is like falling in love with the flowers. Maybe not very romantically, but surely, deeply and purely. I bow down with all the love I have for you. I can never say, "I want you to walk with me." But every time I feel like my soul died a little tonight, I walk to you and feel life a little better than last night. I hate your eyes and the way they are so polite. I hate the way you smile because it makes me giggle every time. Please, don't bring that smile if you are not going to be mine. Trust me, it gives me a hard time when truth bangs on my heart to tell me I'm not the one. Yet how I wish I were. I know such things only happen in books, so I'll just write a letter for you to know I exist. With a heart full of you, I hope this letter finds you well. I had a fight with Cecil the other day. He was angry when I told him. Shh, tell nobody. Keep this a secret. If heaven knew she existed, they would take her away from me. She is not yours, or I should rather say, she can never be yours, he said. She might not be mine, Cecil, but in my eyes... In this world full of normal, they call it a sin, he replied. If looking at her with love is a merciless death, I would die every day. And burn in hell, he said with a displeased face. I would rather burn in hell, playing her image like music in my heart, than live in peace and continue on to heaven, forgetting about her. Letter to the one I still love. I believe you know, and if you do not, I hope this letter finds you well. Today, it's been a decade since I fell for you, but here, my heart remains the same. Every time when I think of you, I pretend to love someone new. I'm not myself. I become someone new when I think of you. Every sublime word about love I might say, taking someone else's name, but it was and will always be for you. Shamelessly, helplessly, but hopefully, I write to the one I still love. All these years that I have loved you, it's time you love me too.
Why would you marry someone knowing they can never love you back? And why were all the letters written on the 11th, instead of being glad to have read her grandmother's letters and surprised or amazed by the fact that her grandmother was once a poet and she hadn't known about it? She was rather confused, sad, and angry. She could not understand the situation. Why did you have to be so selfless? And why was she so selfish? If only she had refused, you would have married someone who could have loved you for real. He took a moment before he could reply to her questions. He was lost in his own flashbacks that reminded him how the prettiest joy and the happiest moment of his life were also the most painful things to realize. What is love? He asked his grandchild. To be with the one who will love you the way you do, or even more, and care for only you, she replied. What you just stated might be right. Maybe that's the definition you have for love. But I never had the luxury to think otherwise than my understanding of love. You say love is to care. I agree with that. But it's not about how much the other person cares for you, but how much you care for them, despite the fact that the other person might not feel the same. To be able to love someone while accepting the other person's heart with respect, even when you are not in it. To sacrifice I for the one, to be happy for his or her happiness. To love someone with no condition, expectation, desire, or possession is something that I have known since I first felt love. However, there is one thing I know for sure, because I believe it. Love only happens once. I had mine, and I married her. I must be the lucky one, don't you think? His words were like a heavy weight sitting on his voice. He continued. She was never selfish. She accepted my proposal because I wanted to marry her. I told my parents that she was the one I wanted as my spouse, and they agreed and talked to her parents. Of course, they were happy to accept our proposal. Because her parents liked me, I thought Rain would disagree, but to my surprise, she didn't. I was scared to face her, so I avoided meeting her until one day she came to me and asked, "Is this what you truly want?" I didn't take a moment to say yes. I couldn't see her eye to eye. I was scared of the disappointment her face might have. But when I looked at her, she smiled. I still don't know why, as I never asked. I know you were wondering why I wanted to marry her. You see, we lived in a very small town. Even if you whispered, the next day it was the news of the town. And I knew people were catching on to her feelings, and I never wanted the very obvious things to happen to her. Aline was left with no words, not that she didn't have questions. It's just that she knew it was better not to ask. But there was one thing she couldn't ignore, so she asked again. But why were all the letters written on the 11th? And what happened to your friend Aline? She just disappeared. We both didn't know where she went. The last time we saw her was at our wedding. And about the letters on the 11th, I know nothing about it. I wondered myself but never found out. I never asked her, and she never had the chance to know that I had those letters with me. She thought she had burned them all, but the box she threw into the fire refused to let her letters die. After hearing her grandfather, she knew one thing for sure. Neither of them had found their happy ending. She hugged her grandfather and said, "You are the man everyone dreams of, my dear gentleman." After Aline left the room, Cecil walked slowly toward his bed and sat on the floor. He pulled out an old briefcase, opened it, and took out some aged papers before returning to his chair. He was happy while looking at the papers, as they were letters written by him. "It's been years, my dear," he whispered.